right, guys. First up, Ice Cube. Actually, no. First off, top five.
Yeah.
You didn't think we're gonna do it this episode, did you? So we're gonna kick off the episode with our top five favorite rappers of all time. Yeah, sure, of all time. It's not all time isn't a long time. Um, we'll switch off one after the other. He'll do his number five. I'll do my number five. So on. So Zeus, who is your number five?
All right, so my number five. He's not my favorite rapper. Not even in the top five favorite rappers. But I have to mention this guy. Just only one album is the reason why. We're not doing top five favorite albums, I know, but I just can't help but have to mention this. His album is like one of my. I honestly listened to this album on replay, and it has a lot to do with this one producer that everybody knows can just make anything sound hot, which is Timbaland. But he's not my favorite rapper. But I have to mention, if he only had one album on his catalog, I would say he could be my favorite rapper, which is actually Bubba Sparx. I know that is going to be controversial right there, but the reason why is his album Deliverance is honestly one of my favorite hip-hop albums of all time. Don't know if we'll ever do a top five hip-hop album, so I just feel like I had to put him in there just based off of that one album. Honestly, if you've ever listened to Bubba Sparx' Deliverance, it's so damn good. It really is. It's so damn good.
Timbaland, right? You said that whatever Timbaland puts his hands on, it's fire. Timbaland is probably the sole reason why I enjoyed Empire so much. That first season of Empire had such good music. Like usually when you have shows about music, it's you're usually talking about like ballads and stuff like Glee. What Glee did is like they were able to weave in pop, by just doing their covers of pop, which is good. But Empire was able to do original rap songs and R&B songs and make it good, and it was on the basis of Timbaland being the music producer on that show. So yeah, I can't argue with that. Yeah.
Some people might argue that Justin Timberlake's musical career didn't go as hard anymore after he didn't have Timbaland producing his albums. His first two albums are fire.
Yeah. Timbaland, if the Grammys have some sort of the Oscars have honorary awards like Governor's Awards, like the ones they gave, like the one that they gave Spike Lee a couple of years ago, before he actually won a real Oscar.
Or kind of like they gave that they had to give it to Peter O'Toole because they never gave him one as the best actor.
Yeah, so if the Grammys have something similar, I think Timbaland deserves some sort of recognition as a producer because he's been behind some of the best produced rap beats of the late 90s, early 2000s even. So hey, I can't knock that at all. Number five, for me, it's a bit of a fringe choice, and also as Zeus mentioned, we're labeling this top five, rappers, but I want to say that for this doesn't necessarily mean that I put him as my top five lyricists or any of that. However, I think this guy would make it to anyone's list of top five lyricists, and it is Kendrick Lamar. I personally don't even like Kendrick Lamar's music that much, to be honest. Like just as a general, just sit around and hey, which artist do I want to play and just vibe to. I'm not gonna pick Kendrick Lamar most times, but Good Kid, Mad City is one of the most complete rap albums ever produced. To this day, Money Trees on Good Kid, Mad City is I love it. It's like it goes for about 5 minutes if you take out the little skit at the end, and it's perfection. That song is perfection, which is why it's such a shame that he lost the Best Rap Album Grammy to Macklemore.
Macklemore.
Yeah. So
you know what's so hilarious about him winning that though? He literally didn't he ask for forgiveness from Kendrick Lamar, saying
which almost
he said Kendrick Lamar got robbed.
which pissed everyone off even more, because now when you're asking for forgiveness from Kendrick Lamar, one, it's like, dude, you won, take your win, go away. But two, that's kind of like crapping on the other nominees. I think
Yeah.
Drake was nominated as well. Jay-Z was nominated. I think Kanye was nominated. And you're basically telling them, hey, all of your albums were good, but I thought that this award I won should have gone to Kendrick. So I think Macklemore would have been better off just not talking at all. But yeah, Good Kid, Mad City, it's an absolute classic. If you've never listened to it, listen to it from start to finish. It's it's a narrative album about growing up in Compton. You feel like you understand a bit more about Compton after you listen to the album. So Kendrick Lamar, number 5.
Sounds to me like we will end up having to have a top 5 like favorite rap album, because
Okay.
that's one thing. So number 4, just feel like you have to include him somewhere in there, just because he is probably the most influential rapper of all time. Some people might argue Biggie is as influential. I don't agree. I think Tupac Shakur is the most influential hip hop artist of all time. Not only as a hip hop artist, but it just seems like poets will throw him in there as influential, right? Because he was a poet. He just came out with so much music, and he might not even be the greatest lyricist of all time. He really might not be. Some people could argue that his lyrics were not the greatest, but his music was just the way it came out, the way it captured everybody. And then obviously him passing away added a lot to his legend. But I would say for me, Tupac Shakur is in my top 5, and I would put him at number 4.
Yeah. It's so funny. Zeus and I did not share our top 5 with each other before we started. And I have Tupac Shakur as my number 4 as well. And everything Zeus said was spot on. But the other thing I want to add is he found a way to, somehow tap into what the Black experience was, not just then, but even to this day. There's songs of Tupac that I'd heard at the time, like 2 of America's Most Wanted, or Changes and all that stuff, the really popular ones, which I was like, oh yeah, this stuff, it bops. And then there were other things that I learned, that I heard from him 20 years after his passing and such. And I'm hearing him talk about things, in Brenda Had a Baby, or, or Dear Mama, or it's just countless songs of his that, one, you can understand what it was like to be Black in LA at that time. But two, you're hearing some of the stuff he's saying about police brutality, about knocking at the door, not being let in, until the point where you just, that peaceful knocking turns into, violence, busting down the doors. A lot of the stuff resonates even till this day, right? And it takes a lot to be able to do that, man. So
yeah, remember when we talked about Bernie Sanders a while ago? I said that Bernie Sanders might not be the one who changes the world, but he might be the one that sparks the mind of the person who changes the world. That's a Tupac Shakur quote that I took, because, like you said, it resonates completely to up until today. He just was, honestly, and I think it's been argued before, he was also he's a philosopher. He really is. He is a philosopher that he could be included in the philosophy classes along with freaking, the Stoics and Plato and all those people, because he really was a philosopher on top of everything.
Yeah, there are a lot of Tupac interviews that I feel like are must-watch interviews if you just want to understand, the mindset of being young and Black in America. Yeah, the constant having to juggle between the live young and fast lifestyle with, how do you show that you're not a threat, you're not a constant threat, and you deserve to exist on a level playing field with everyone else. Like there's so many things he talks about that are so deep, and I'm watching them 20 plus years after he passed. I'm like, this guy got it,
Yeah.
And so it's a rarity to have, people like that. So yeah, it's an honor to put him on our top 5 list.
There we go. Both at number 4. All right. My number 3. Not a lyricist like Tupac, but when I was growing up, this guy was my man's, and if anybody knows who I'm talking about, they know if they know what that reference is from, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Do you know what I'm talking about when I said my man's in them? That's your man's in them.
Oh no, DMX. Oh, DMX. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
DMX.
Yeah. I love DMX.
DMX.
Yeah.
Huh?
I love DMX.
First 5 albums, man. Honestly, his first 5 albums. That's actually how me and my best friend actually became best friends. We always tell people, we always say we became best friends through Tupac and South Park. We both love those things. We both connect on those things, and we just went we just always wrote through. And his first 5 albums, I mean, honestly, he's not the same rapper he was before. But when he came out that way, when he first came out, it was just he first of all he came out with songs talking about. One of my favorite songs of his is from the second album where he's talking about I got blood on my hands and there's no remorse and got blood on my dick because I fucked the corpse. That's the first song that he has on that album, right before his first skit, which is my N-word. I don't want to say the word. The very last song on that one is him talking to God, ready to meet him. So it's just like he was like all over the place, all over this. I resonate with that because a lot of times I'm a pirate, but I also have, I also listen to sermons and stuff online and, try to get close to God and stuff. So I understand DMX. I am DMX.
You are not a monolith. You're multidimensional. So,
yeah, and he showed that. He really did show that because he would put up songs that were love songs, even though he's talking about being a gangster rapper. He was still a gangster in the love song, right? But he was still putting out love songs, and he had choruses where he was still, I guess you could say, he was kind of singing sometimes. So it was just like, yeah, man, he definitely has to be up there. And also, let's not forget the fact that Ja Rule tried to bite his style.
Yeah. I love DMX. I have Apple Music and I have a bunch of his songs from those early albums you're talking about that I downloaded. A couple of his songs I actually got into because of these 2 video games, Def Jam Fight for New York and Def Jam Vendetta. They had a lot of DMX songs in there. They had a lot of Def Jam Records songs in there.
Yeah.
But Where My Dog's At by DMX was the intro song to one of the
Where My Dog's At.
Yeah, I love it.
Where My Dog's At.
So yeah, I mean DMX hard hitting stuff. So okay, that's a good number 3. My number 3, this actually goes into our next conversation about cancel culture, because I actually don't believe Black people cancel people as much as other demographics. My number 3 is Kanye West. Yeah, I mean, I have umpteen numbers of reasons to cancel this guy, but he is absolutely one of the most influential producers the hip hop industry has ever had.
Look, I can tell you right now, I think 3 of his albums are some of the greatest albums of all time.
Yeah. You can tell that he has a, almost meticulous understanding of composition of music, right? Now, he's not a classic composer in the sense of, actually reading sheet music and I don't actually know if he can read sheet music, but he's not a classic composer in that sense. But he understands how sounds bounce off of each other to make, to give you a certain emotion, right? I mean, this guy used his voice as an instrument when he auto-tuned his voice to have it as part of the instrumental for Runaway, with the song he had with Pusha T.
His voice is the instrument. I didn't know that part.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I also think one of the best songs of all time. I would actually put it as one of the best hip hop songs of all time. That's not because of lyrics, because the lyrics are okay. The lyrics are pretty, they're pretty standard. But as far as musical composition, just layering of the instruments and the elements. All of the lights, I think, might be the greatest hip hop song of all time. Just as you listen through all the music, as he starts layering in, and you'd even see in the video where they're doing the credits at the end. It's Elton John, it's Kid Cudi, it's Fergie, it's Alicia Keys, because he's like, there's a place for all of these. It never felt jumbled, and that's part of the brilliance of Kanye West. Take away all of his antics and mental lapses or issues that he has.
His mental, he has mental health issues. Like let's be honest, he has mental health issues.
So, but as a producer, I think he is
a genius.
He's a genius. We'll put it at that. Yeah. So that's my number 3, Kanye West.
Which is funny that you said All of the Lights is to you your favorite, one of your favorite. I would actually say the song. I think the song immediately follows it. Power to me is one of the greatest hip hop songs of all time. Like, it's up there, one of the songs that I would honestly say, if I had to choose one song that's hip hop that I'd have to listen to, that would be the main one that I would listen to, because that song is just beyond ridiculous. But no, I'm not gonna knock you on Kanye West. The only thing I'd say about Kanye West on his as a musical genius, I completely agree. I just hate that a lot of people want to use his mental instability as genius in regards to how he talks on certain things. You know what I'm saying? But as far as music is concerned, no, Kanye West is like I said, 4 albums that I would say could, if I had a top 10 just right now, I could probably include Late Registration, College Dropout, My Dark Twisted Fantasy, and then I'm sorry, it was just which one?
Graduation?
Yes. Yeah. No, it was Graduation, the one with no, I'm sorry, 3. The 3 out of the first 4 of his first 4 albums.
Yeah.
Or first 5 albums, I would say are my favorite ones.
And I didn't even like Yeezus to begin with, but over time that thing grew on me. And it's only like 9 songs, 10 songs.
I grew out of hip hop. I'm not gonna lie at that point, but I've been told by a lot of people. I was like, yeah, he probably fell off, didn't he? They're like, no. Even didn't. Life of Pablo is still good. Even any other one. So definitely, they probably need to listen to him. I heard his gospel album is actually really good. Even though I haven't
heard it. I haven't heard his gospel album.
I personally feel like he kind of used the gospel album to kind of get a lot of the heat taken off of him.
Yeah. So I'm not like a super religious guy, but I don't. And now I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but I don't enjoy when people use religion to kind of almost as a PR stunt type of thing. Yeah. It's like, come on. So anyway,
but it probably is good, because I have one of my friends who is a big religious guy, and he says it was really good. Yeah. So you said that was your number 2?
That was my number 3. So you're on your number 2 now.
I'm on my number 2.